Hey everybody, my name is Shelby. Thank you for viewing. Today I'm going to provide a tutorial on how to take apart a Reader's Digest condensed book so that you can use the covers for a book of your own. I've been making books out of Reader's Digest covers for probably about 25 years, and I sometimes use a sewed binding, but this one happens to be an accordion book, which is really a handy way to use these covers. This one is another example, and it just shows that you can decorate the covers and put wraps on them, do so many different things with them. I'll show you a couple different stages of these Reader's Digest books. This is a newer one. It's from 1985, and the binding is more of a vinyl plastic type binding, and it's in good shape, it's intact, and you find these in generally in very different levels of, you know, repair or disrepair. Here's one from the 1970s, and it's a more pebbly, a little bit heavier binding, and it, you know, comes apart just as well. Here's one that is from 1955, and it has a cloth binding. I find that a lot of times the really older ones from the 50s are so beautiful. The covers are really interesting designs, but all of them make really interesting book covers, depending on the look that you want. For example, here's what the covers will look like once you take them apart. And this one is from 1970. Doesn't that look just like the 70s? And here's another example. Here's one from the 1950s. It's 1953. And so that's a, 70-year-old book. And it has the cloth binding. You can just see the stylized pine cone pattern here on this one. So what you're going to need to disassemble a Reader's Digest book is, of course, a Reader's Digest book. It's a little bit different than some of the other books that you might find to disassemble, but there are similar principles. I'm going to focus just on the Reader's Digest, though. You'll need a cutting mat, a good metal ruler, a pencil, and a sharp exacto blade. So today I'm going to take apart this lovely marbled cover, and the first thing I'm going to do is just refresh myself on what it looks like on the inside. So this one is a very good intact book, and I'm going to write, it's from 1989, and if I don't write down right away what year it is, I will forget, and I write it on the front and the back, which helps me know when I'm ready to use the book, which is the top and which is the back. But I do write in here just so that I know lightly back, top, and just in case they get separated, front, top. And that helps when I actually go to do the binding. I always start at the back, and I never start right here. And look at these beautiful, somebody put this in here, and I might want to use that. I try to save a few of the pages, and what I end up doing is some of the older books sometimes have such amazing graphics that if I don't save the whole inside, which I generally don't, I will cut out or pull out some of those graphics and just put them in an envelope and either use them myself later or donate them somewhere. Otherwise, I recycle the middle of the books. I get these books at vintage stores, thrift stores, and I know you can buy them online as well. But, I'm going to stand up for this and uh, make sure that the book is laying pretty flat. And my goal is not to just really rip the book out with the heaviest hand Rather, what I'm doing is disassembling it. So I'm starting just up at the top back, and using the gutter to just get a feel for where the stitching is. And I can already feel, can you hear the little bit of the cut going through some of the material of the binding? I'm not pushing real hard on my exacto blade. This is a case where I'm going to make several passes at this rather than one heavy duty slice. I'm stopping to, oh, it just fell apart. That's ideal to have that happen. I'm not trying to save the spine to keep that intact. Rather, I'll cut that off, but it's nice to have it come apart fairly cleanly. Same thing with the front. I'm going to turn this around, and I start from the back just because if something does go wrong, it's a little bit easier to hide any problems with the back. And then I'm kind of into it when I'm doing the front, and I'm less likely to make errors. So again, I'm going slowly, no big push, just really working in the gutter, keeping my eyes on the book, keeping my eyes on my knife, listening for it to kind of break apart a little bit. There, I don't know if you can hear that little crackling sound, but that's the book kind of falling apart a little bit. And there it is. It's out like that. And so this I'll put aside. And now what I'm going to do is just make sure that everything's in pretty good condition. And rather than try and pull these out, which you could do, you could try that in cutting it here, but I'm not going to do that. Instead, I'm going to press this open, and I'm working on the back. I'm going to work on the back rather than the front. So it says top back, and I'm pressing it out so that it's pretty flat, so there aren't a lot of lumps and bumps. And here's where I'm taking my ruler. I am not going to try and cut right up close to the actual book. I'm cutting off part of the spine. I haven't really figured out a way to use the spine part of the book. Sometimes I save it, but I'm cutting into the spine and leaving this ridge here because again, it's easy to make kind of a wavery line or something like that when you're first doing it. And usually I want a clean cut right up close to the edge of the book. So I'm working in a little bit. And again, I'm making passes rather than doing a really deep, heavy, hard cut to begin with. So that means I need to keep my ruler pretty steady because I want a clean cut, and I can just see this now separating. Okay, so what I've got is the back of my book. I've got a little bit of an edge there, which I want for now. I'll cut that off later when I make the binding, when I actually do the binding of the book. But for now, I want it like this. I'm going to save the uh, end paper of this book, which is just this brown paper. I'm not going to trim it or anything. I'm just going to put it aside right now. And this, the piece I saved here was mainly just to protect things as I cut it. So I'm doing the same thing now for the front of the book. You can see I've got these pages forward to the same um, shape of the front of the book. And actually, I think I'm going to go like this. Well, maybe I will. I'll go like this so that you can see that I'm indented here, just like I was before, away from this the very edge of the cover of the book. And again, holding my ruler very steady, making some passes. And I can just feel it coming apart. And there it is. And this one cut just a little bit. What I like about saving these end papers, this now doesn't look quite so great. It looks like it comes off. Yeah, that came right off. So I kind of like this, but I don't know if I like it in my book. So sometimes I use these, sometimes I don't. It just depends on what you're doing with the book. Because I'm it might be of interest. I'm going to show you right now how I trim. So in preparation for binding, you can see that on this book, I don't have this extra little lip that I saved on here. So I'm going to cut that lip off as if I were going to use it for the binding. I don't measure anything. I just really pay attention to where I'm putting my ruler and um, adjusting it so that I know I'm going to get a straight, clean cut. And I treat it all the same way. A lot of time, a certain cutting with the exacto blades, you want one pass and that's it. With this, you can generally do a couple passes. All right, so that came out pretty well. A lot of times you'll end up being able to see um, the the inner workings of the spine, and it doesn't look so great. And that's where, like on this book that I did, I had book binding tape, and I used that on the cover of the book and covered up both ends so that if I did have, see this inner working and you don't like that, you can cover it up if you want. Okay. That is the way to disassemble a condensed Reader's Digest book for making your own book covers. Thanks for watching.